Okay, so I'm at Bontrager's Surplus here. These guys were very helpful. I got windows, a used tank, and we're going to get a propane stove here that was really affordable. So, very good service. Okay, so I'm here with Dylan at Warehouse Salvage. This is in Mishawaka, Indiana, right outside of Elkhart. We lucked out here, found a great deal on windows, gray tanks, possibly the captain's chairs. We'll see if we pick those up. But they're a little off the beaten path here in Elkhart, but these guys have a lot of good stuff, so check out the website. Okay, so this is what we got at Warehouse Salvage. We got the captain's chairs, we got the side windows, and two gray water, black water tanks. So, good success. Okay, so we're all loaded up. These are the windows I got at Bontrager's yesterday. Those are the window rings for the smaller windows I got here at Warehouse Salvage. That stove is from Bontrager's, so I'll have to show you when I unload the trailer. But we got water tanks, a propane stove, and the windows, and gray water tanks, and a faucet for the kitchen sink, and garden tub spout as well. So I think what we're going to do next is continue shopping for odds and ends before we leave, just smaller stuff. So this sign here, Warehouse Salvage, this is in Mishawaka. It's a little off the beaten path. They treated me really well. They get a lot of stuff from Explorer vans. These are like Chevy seats with the integrated seat belts. I got 2 Chevy seats, nicely cushioned, for, these were never used, for $250 a piece, which is a very good value. They're very comfortable seats. And then they had the gray tanks and some smaller windows. But these people treated me really well. Bontrager's treated me really well. Johnson's Discount and Johnson's Salvage in Elkhart and in White Pigeon, those two could use a little work on their customer service. I didn't buy much there. But this place and Bontrager's were exceptionally good with service, and I spent most of my money at those 2 places, along with Rec Pro, where I bought new tanks. So the Elkhart trip here has been very successful. It does require effort. It's a little bit draining to bounce from place to place and see what they have. Okay, so I'm going to unload the trailer after coming back from Elkhart. These are the captain's chairs we got with the integrated seat belts. These come out of a Chevy Explorer conversion factory. These are just surplus, never used. So then I'm going to unload the rest of this stuff off the trailer here. We took those seats off last night because we were worried about rain. Okay, so I'm not pressure testing, but leak testing and rinsing out these tanks, even the new ones, before I put them on the bus, just to make sure I'm not going to have leaks. So I'm going to fill these up and then make sure the water level doesn't diminish. And we'll do that overnight. This one here I already filled up. It's still kind of draining out a little bit on uneven ground. This is a used one. I may or may not use it. I got to think about it. That's another 65 gallons. So that one's already filled up here. So I'm going to do the next one at this point. But yeah, I just thought it was important to rinse them out and leak test them before we put them in. Okay, so looking at what we got from the Elkhart trip, these are the 2 windows for the front living area, one for each side. They're about 48 by 36. I got some rings. They're larger rings, but you can cut them down to make them work. They didn't have the ones exactly fitting this, but these were from Bontrager's in White Pigeon, Michigan, outside Elkhart. These are smaller rings that we got at Warehouse Salvage to go with these other windows over here. I'm going to show you those. So these windows are taped up. We got 5 of them. So these smaller windows will be alongside the bus in the kitchen, bedroom, and near the side door. We got those from Warehouse Salvage. We also got the captain's chairs at Warehouse Salvage outside of Elkhart, and I forget the name of the town. And then These are the gray tanks that also came from warehouse salvage. I got 2 of them. Much less gray capacity than the freshwater capacity, but I figure with biodegradable soaps, it's much easier to find a spot to dump gray tanks than it is to fill fresh water. So here we've got the propane stove. This came from Bontrager's. This is a very nice stove, very well built, and it was only $350. It's already set up for propane. Hard to argue with that, since new they're about $800 at the box stores. And then of course we got the tanks over here. Those 2 large tanks were from Rec Pro in Bristol, Indiana. I stopped by and picked those up. That way I could avoid freight, and I got a discount for picking up in person. And then this one here was used at Bontrager's for $50. It's about 65, maybe 70 gallons. So if we want to, we could actually do like 265 gallons of fresh water. It's a lot of weight. It's 2,200 pounds roughly. But I may still do it. You know, if our intention's to boondock for 30 days, we won't have to skimp on showers. So, and that big beast of a bus can certainly handle the weight. Just have to make sure I distribute it nicely on the floor. And it's all distributed in the middle of the bus, so between the sets of tires. So that's, you know, that's certainly a possibility. And then over here from Johnson's Surplus in Elkhart, we got this hood vent, and we got this faucet, and then another faucet for the garden tub or jacuzzi tub we're going to be using. So anyway, it was a very successful trip. We got everything we needed that's big and bulky, and a little bit of stuff that we weren't expecting to buy. So I highly recommend, if you're interested in saving a buck and can get there reasonably easy with a trailer, go to Elkhart if you're building a bus. Another thing we got at Johnson's in Elkhart was these swivel bases. They're not an exact fit for the Chevy seats, but with my brother's new plasma cutter, we can easily make an adapter plate. They're also not quite as tall as we wanted, but you can't argue with the price. That's about half of what other people wanted for swivels. So these are 7.5 inches tall, I believe. The plan is to get some airline track and have both the driver and passenger seat be able to slide on the airline track to adjust their positioning side to side, mostly for the passenger seat, but the driver's seat may need that clearance to be able to swivel around. That's why I want to make it adjustable as well. So anyhow, that's what we got, and the plan's coming together here. Okay, so over there I'm draining the water tanks. They all hold water, no leaks. Now what I'm going to do is cut some plywood to go under the big tanks. I'll probably cut some for the other tank too, but I'm putting plywood under them just to help distribute weight and avoid any of the metal that I used on the floor from creating problems for the tank. There's little screws and whatnot. I don't want anything digging into the plastic with a road vibration. So I'm going to screw some plywood to the floor. It'll also serve to help box in the tank with plywood to keep it from shifting. Alright, so right now I'm lining the floor to support the tank in its place. I'm going to put this piece of plywood down. Slot that in like so. I want to see this gap here. I think once the tank's in, I should be able to slide the piece of plywood on its side down in. I'm going to take a measurement here. This should be just over 26 inches wide here, and this should be about 3/4. So the rivets may get in the way a little bit. I'm not sure. But I should be able to put plywood down and screw it in place above the tank. I got to take a couple measurements, but that's my plan. If that plan works, I'm going to screw this piece of plywood to the floor and then cut another piece. I'm going to back this out a little bit from that flange so that plywood can be slotted at the end. So The idea here is to better support the tank and make sure that the tank doesn't shift. Okay, so I have the two pieces of wood in place. Now I'm going to screw them to the subfloor. Okay, so I have all the wood to hold the tank in put in place. Got these strengthening boards on the bottom. These will hold it on the side and keep the tank from rubbing the metal here. And then we've got insulation on this side against the outside wall, just to help keep the water from freezing as quickly, maybe. I don't know. Just seemed like a good idea at the time. So anyhow, now I'm going to put the tank in place and make sure it fits. Alright, so that water tank fits like a glove. And we're going to have a nice chase behind it for any electrical wires I need to run underneath. So that's good. Nice fit. It doesn't go side to side at all. It's going to be held in place. I'm going to put a block of wood in the back here across the bottom to hold that in place. So I think it'll work. It's an unqualified success there. So what I'm doing right now is putting plywood over this. I think how I'm going to fasten this floor is with rib nuts through the angles with 4 bolts, maybe even 6 bolts, sort of in the middle and at each end. We'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5/16, 18 bolts, and that will hold the floor down. This will be under the appliances, but I may eventually want to remove it for some reason, so I'll make it that way. Okay, so I got half of this one topped. It's about where I need to quit for today. So that's it.